Guys, so thank you for sticking with me. Sorry, I'm using this CapCut program and I forgot that it cuts me off after 10 minutes. So sorry for the abrupt ending there. But this is part two to my video of how to maintain continuous long-term sobriety and recovery. So picking up where I left off on the last video, my counselor told me to go to a meeting and get a sponsor. And that was the last thing I wanted to do. So as I was saying, I was court ordered to go to a 9 years earlier after a DWI, and I was completely closed-minded. The whole spiritual aspect, I did not. I understand spirituality a lot different today. I'll say that. To me, spirituality now is a very broad term and doesn't necessarily have anything to do with any kind of deity or anything that like that, but it's just kind of connecting to things outside of yourself. And that could be family, that could be friends, that could be like the universe, it could be God, it could be a religion. To me, it's very open-ended and whatever, and it's very personal. So anyway, I was very not interested in AA, and even as a last ditch effort had half-heartedly tried it, as I was saying, and had a little bit of success with it. So I had gotten a little bit more open to it, because that was the only place I knew to go when times got really bad. It was like kind of like, well, I'll fucking try it again. But anyway, so my counselor said, go to a meeting, get a sponsor. And so I did. So I was like, fuck it. Again, I was so defeated. I was like willing to try anything. So I went to a meeting. I said, I shared in the meeting, which is, if you're not familiar with trust groups, it's basically most of the groups are on some kind of topic about recovery or addiction. And you can just share, they say you share your experience, strength, and hope. So anyways, during that meeting, I shared that I was looking for a sponsor, and that I was trying to be open-minded and listen to my counselor, and everything I had done had failed. So I was trying to just be open-minded to the program. And sure enough, a guy came up to me after the meeting and started talking to me. And I asked him to be my temporary sponsor. And he ended up being my sponsor for about 4 years. But all that to say, before that, I had tried so many times to get clean and sober and was never had any lasting success with it. So I just want to encourage anybody out there listening to this who may have had frustrations and feeling maybe hopeless and feeling like giving up. Please don't give up. Every time, this was such a huge thing to me that I realized every time that I tried to get clean and sober and I didn't, I learned something. And maybe it wasn't the conscious learning. I was aware of what I had learned, but something was like, that was a bad idea. Going to trying to hang out with the exact same people on a regular basis that are getting fucked up, trying not to drink doesn't work very well. Things like that. Going to a bar in early sobriety is probably not the best idea. It's just things implanted into my memory along the way that I think set the stage for future success. So if you've been having frustrations, if you feel like you can't seem to stay clean and sober, you can't put that much time together, the biggest thing is to not give up, and understand what can I learn from this. And I've made other videos about relapse and things like might be helpful in that regard. And again, for me, the biggest thing was getting professional help. There's people who do this for a living. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I had to really humble myself and listen to other people who had been there, people who had maintained long periods of being clean and sober, as well as professionals that worked in the field. That's what ultimately helped me. So having said that, some of the things that helped me along the way were having lots of support, having people that I could confide in, having people I could call and talk to when I was really struggling. The main person was my sponsor. But just, it doesn't have to be a quote unquote sponsor, but having somebody who is clean and sober and has maintained that recovery for a while is so helpful, because they know exactly how you're feeling. They know the cravings, the crazy thoughts, the frustrations. I've talked about in previous videos how repeated substance use significantly changes your brain in many different ways. It changes the way we think. It overrides the logical part of our brain with emotions. So basically, not if you're addicted to a substance and you're trying to get yourself out of it, you're not working with a full deck. I used to always tell people when I was working in treatment that it's like trying to fix your broken brain with your broken brain. You need outside influence. You almost need somebody to think for you, if that makes sense, because the substances have literally changed your brain. And the brain will heal. It will get better. It will get easier by far, but especially early on, having the people to, like I said, think for you in a sense is really, I found that to be really helpful. But a few things that really helped me along the way, one of the biggest things, and a lot of this stuff comes from 12-step groups, like it or not, there is a lot of wisdom. Whether you agree with how things are done there and stuff like that, there is a lot of wisdom that comes out of 12-step recovery. Just because you have a group of people who have these experiences and they're sharing their experience and their wisdom throughout it. So it's the most cliche thing that you hear in 12-step recovery. And trust me, I hated all these cliches. I hated all these sayings in the beginning, but so many of them have rang true for me. But the one day at a time thing is absolutely instrumental to my recovery. Thinking in terms of just it at the beginning of getting through one day at a time, and then once I got some time, a significant amount of time, it turned into taking it one day at a time to not get complacent. So to never think like I'm good, I'm out of the woods. Because again, it's a chronic progressive disease. It's treatable, it's not curable. So if I'm not, to borrow a drinking term, if I'm not minding my P's and Q's, then I run the risk of relapse. Guys, I'm gonna go ahead and make a third part to this video. So thank you for sticking with this, and please stay tuned for the third part.